The mud brick is still warm under your feet when you wake. Somewhere below, water is already moving through the canals. You are scribe attached to the temple of Marduk, in a Babylon ruled by a king who cannot stop building. Your reed pens are lined up before your eyes even open. What do you owe the gods today? You rise on a mat, not a bed, because only the wealthiest sleep on frames. The room is small. The walls are thick enough to keep out the worst of the heat, packed clay baked hard under sun that has not touched them yet. Outside, a rooster somewhere near the river argues with the dawn. You splash water on your face from a clay jar, and it is cool, drawn from the canal before sunrise. Bread from yesterday sits on a shelf, flat and a little hard now. You eat standing up. Is there time to sit, on a morning when the king himself may walk the processional way? Street outside is packed dirt, swept early by someone else's servant. Mud walls rise on either side, 2 and sometimes 3 stories, close enough that neighbors can pass bowls between windows. You walk toward the river, and the smell changes as you go, from bread and dust to reeds and wet clay. The Euphrates runs right through the heart of the city, and canals branch off it like veins, watering gardens tucked behind courtyard walls. A boatman poles a flat barge past you, loaded with dates. You nod, he doesn't. There is no time for pleasantries when the current is this low and the market this far. You reach Esagilla before the sun has fully cleared the rooftops. This is the temple of Marduk, the city's chief god, and its outer courtyard is already busy with priests, sweepers, and men like you who owe the temple their labor with a pen instead of a broom. Somewhere inside, offerings are being laid out. Bread, beer, roasted meat, set before a statue that priests will feed and clothe today as if it breathes. Your task waits on a shelf of damp clay tablets, still soft enough to write on. You press your reed stylus into the surface, and it leaves a wedge-shaped mark, the same wedge shapes that make up cuneiform, the writing system that has carried Babylonian law, poetry, and receipts for close to 2,000 years by your time. You are recording grain deliveries today. Sacks in, sacks out, a debt owed by a farmer 3 canals over. It is tedious work, but it is also the reason anyone centuries from now will know your name at all, if a tablet like yours survives. The Assyriologist Andrew George spent years translating tablets exactly like the ones under your hand, piecing together the Babylonian creation story and the epic of a king named Gilgamesh from broken fragments dug out of the ground. Somewhere in a scribal school not far from where you sit, a boy is copying that same epic onto his own practice tablet right now, making mistakes, getting corrected, learning the same signs you learned. By mid-morning your hand aches and the courtyard has grown loud. Do you stop or push through the last stack? You set the stylus down anyway. A senior priest is arguing with a merchant about a shipment of tin, and the sound of it is more interesting than grain counts. You leave the temple grounds to run an errand, and the city outside swallows you whole. This is midday, and the market near the river is thick with noise. Sellers shout prices in accents from Elam, from Phoenicia, from towns along the Tigris you have never seen. Wool, dyed cloth, copper, salted fish, jars of oil, all changing hands over the same worn scales. A woman haggles over silver rings weighed on a small balance, since coins as you might imagine them do not yet exist here. Weight is currency. Trust is currency too. You buy dates and a twist of cheese, and a trader tries to sell you a charm against fever. Do you believe it works? You buy it anyway, tucking it into your sash, because everyone does, and because who wants to be the one man who didn't? Beyond the food stalls, a scribe like you might also handle contracts, since disputes over sold goods or unpaid debts are common enough that a written record can save a person from a costly argument later. You've settled arguments before with nothing more than a tablet pulled from a shelf. It never fails to satisfy something in you, watching clay outlast a person's temper. The afternoon pulls you toward the center of the city, where the ziggurat rises above every rooftop. This is Etemenanki, a stepped temple tower built in receding terraces like a mountain made deliberately by human hands, and the king currently ruling Babylon has poured labor into finishing it as though his name depends on it. Baked bricks are being hauled up ramps by teams of men chanting in rhythm. Bitumen, a sticky black tar used as mortar, is heated nearby, and the smell of it drifts over the whole square. You watch for a moment, the way everyone in Babylon watches, because the tower never quite finishes being remarkable. Centuries later, a German archaeologist named Robert Koldwy will dig through layers of collapsed brick right here and map out the base of this very tower, foundations you are standing beside today while they are still whole. He will find inscriptions boasting that the king raised its head to heaven. You already believe that. You don't need an inscription to tell you. A foreman calls out measurements to a line of laborers. Someone drops a brick and curses a god's name, quickly followed by an apology to that same god, muttered under his breath. Is that superstition, or is it simply good sense in a city where gods are assumed to be listening? You keep walking before you have to decide. Not far off, a scribe you recognize from another temple is recording the number of laborers fed today, because a project this size runs on rationed bread and beer as much as on brick and bitumen. Feeding an army of builders is its own kind of arithmetic, one the temple takes as seriously as any hymn. By late afternoon, the heat has thinned enough to breathe properly. You detour toward the Processional Way, the broad avenue that cuts through the city toward the Ishtar Gate, and even on an ordinary day, it is worth walking. The gate itself is faced in glazed brick, blue as a clear evening sky, and across its surface march rows of lions, bulls, and horned dragons, each one built from individually shaped and colored bricks fitted together like a puzzle no one is allowed to get wrong. The lions are sacred to Ishtar, goddess of love and war, and they seem to pace the wall even standing still. You press a hand briefly to the brick, warm from the sun, the way children do and adults pretend they don't. 2,500 years from now, museum visitors in Berlin will stand in front of a reconstructed version of this same gate, rebuilt from fragments Coldwell's team shipped out of the ground piece by piece, and they will feel some version of what you feel now, just older and quieter. You don't know that yet. You just know the blue is beautiful. Evening finds you home, where your family waits with the day's real meal. Flatbread, a stew of lentils and onion, dates, and beer drunk through a long reed straw to filter out the barley husks floating on top. Your mother asks about the temple. Your children ask if you saw the king. You didn't, not today, but you tell them about the lions on the gate instead, and that seems to satisfy them just as well. Your neighbor drops by uninvited, as he does most evenings, trading gossip about a merchant's failed shipment for a share of your dates. You've learned to enjoy this ritual as much as any temple offering. It costs less, and the gods, presumably, are not listening to gossip about tin merchants. Did the gods take note of anything you did today? You honestly aren't sure. That uncertainty is exactly why, after the meal, some households send a family member up to the rooftop to watch the sky. Tonight it's you. You climb the mud brick stairs to the flat roof, where the heat of the day is finally letting go into a breeze off the river. Babylon's priests have been tracking the movements of planets and stars for generations by this point, recording them on tablets the way you record grain, because the sky is believed to write its own kind of message, one that unfolds slowly enough that only patient men can read it. Modern historians like Mark van der Meerup have described just how central this habit of watching became to how Babylonians understood time itself, treating years and omens and government decisions as bound up in the same slow-turning wheel. You find the planet the priests call Marduk's star, bright and steady near the horizon. Somewhere in the temple archives, a line from the story of creation, the Enuma Elish, describes Marduk setting the stars in their places after defeating the chaos of the sea itself. You don't recite it aloud. You just look up and let the shape of the story sit behind your eyes while you watch the actual sky do exactly what the story says it should. A dog barks somewhere near the canal. The river keeps moving, the way it has all day, the way it will after you've gone to sleep and long after that. Your hand still aches faintly from the reed stylus. Tomorrow there will be more grain to count, more bricks to haul, more prayers to half believe and fully perform. You go back down the stairs eventually, past the pens lined up for tomorrow, and lie down on the same mat you woke on. The mud brick walls have given back the day's heat now, and they are still warm against your shoulder as you close your eyes.